All right, we're going to start back up then. So I'm taking for granted that everyone in here right now is at this point. Am I correct? All right. Before we do, I just want to mention to you that if you do look, just so you know this, that one of the tapes or the videos that I've already made that's out there under the YouTube channel is how to create a Java application using Eclipse. All right. So if I go too fast, and you're like, well, I don't want to stop him, he's whatever. And you need to go back and look at it. You'll be able to. Did you want to talk?
No, to you.
Oh. Right now, or wait?
Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay. Well, no, because I'm going to keep going unless you want me to walk out in the hall. What's that? About to about 11:30.
Oh, I'll come back.
Okay.
Okay.
11:50. 11:50.
Okay.
All right. Sometimes people ask too. They say, "Well, how fast? From the time you record these until you get them up on the system." This is already being produced onto YouTube right now. The first one I already did. So typically, I try to shoot for no more than a 24-hour turnaround. I will tell you for the afternoon class, to be real honest with you, I'm coming here at 6 in the morning, so 10 to 5, I get the hell out. I have no desire to even stay here till 5 o'clock. All right, so I will take the stuff home with me, but I can produce it and do all that stuff from home, and that's usually what I do. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our first Java program. Even if you don't understand everything that's going on in here, it's okay. Now, before we do this, John probably is trying to get my attention, so probably there's a few settings in here.
Set the workspace.
All right. Oh, that's the first thing we should do. Remember how I had you go on and create that folder that said 152, 143? Now we have to sync up that workspace with that folder. All right? And if you don't do that, your workspace is already set to something. I don't know what it's set to rather. Last semester, I had like 19 people, and everybody's was set to Adrian, the lab assistant. It was all set to his folder, so everybody was saving it to his folder. So we're not going to do that. So as a class, click File, and go down to Switch Workspace, and then go over to Other. Regardless of what it says here, just do this. So File, Switch Workspace, and Other.
Class in JavaScript, we already did this?
Yeah, if you guys have already done this, and it already looks okay, that's fine. You can leave it there. All right, so again, File, Switch Workspace, Other. Now, I don't know what yours says right here. All right? You know what it says, but I don't, and I don't want to take a look at everyone's. Mine is already set correctly, but let's just suppose it wasn't set or it wasn't set correctly. Click the Browse button. Under Desktop, you should be able to find the folder that you just created that's called 152, 143. So under Desktop, 152, 143, if you click OK, it should now have changed it. So yours should say d:\users /your login /desktop /152-143. If you don't have a 152, 143 folder, you didn't create one. All right, so go back into your desktop and create it.
We did set one up we did do this for Notepad++, but I think you have to do it for Eclipse as well.
Yeah, but he did it in class.
See, the people who had me for JavaScript last semester, we did a lot of this stuff already.
I just don't
So,
want to know if you
yeah.
changed it. Cause
No, there's nothing that's changed.
All right.
So am I right in assuming that now everyone has set their workspace correctly? All right? Because then if you have, just click the OK button. Now, don't let that freak you out because Eclipse is going to go and it's going to start up again. It shuts down and starts back up because you made a change. All right? It doesn't look any different. It shouldn't look any different when you bring it up. But now, if you come back up again to File and you go down to Switch Workspace, now it should show your correct workspace in there. All right? Yes?
So mine does not, it's still pointing to my H, which is fine, I can route it.
Yeah, mine is also going back to the H route.
Take a look.
I've done this twice.
Well, just click on other ones and see what it says. Well, same H right there on the screen that he's at? Then it should be, it actually should be creating. I don't know why it's not showing you.
Oh, mine's working, yeah. It's all good.
Let's put it this way, even like, because mine doesn't say it here either. Mine doesn't say 152, 143. But we're going to start creating a project right now. You're going to be able to go back into that folder you just created and double click on it and see if it's creating the project in there. You'll know right away. All right. That's something you should only have to do once. Okay? It's a one and done. All right. Now, the way that we have to do this to set this up, to actually come in here and go in and create a Java project, it's a little bit clunky, for lack of better words. It's not that it's bad, but it's different from the way you do it in other integrated development environments. All right? So, we'll walk through it as a class. Like I said before, after you've done it once or twice, you're not even going to think about it. Okay? So, click File, go to New, and go to Java Project. If for some reason, and occasionally it happens, you go, I don't have, mine doesn't say, all these listings up here doesn't say Java Project on any of them. If that happens, just go down to Other, and then the next screen that comes up should show Java Project on. All right? So, we're about to create a brand new project. So, after File, New, Java Project, with all that highlighted, just click your mouse, and if it comes up and it looks like this, that's exactly the way your screen should be looking right now. There's two things that are important on the screen, and that's it. One is what we're going to call our project, and we're going to do that in just a second. The other is now, and for those of you who had problems, Zach, if you had a problem, and Isaiah, that if yours says D in here, you're good. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Everybody's should say on there, D:\users / your login name / 152, 143, if you created a folder by that name. All right, people, well, can I call mine Java? I don't really care what the heck you call it, but you know, it's just to make it easier for you, that's all. All right? Now, we're going to create a bunch of different iterations in this class of a very simple, you guys have already done it, payroll program. All right? So, every single project that we create has to have a different name. But when we start to create classes underneath our projects, they're all going to be called payroll. And don't let that bother you. But the first one that we're going to create is Payroll 1. So we're going to call this Payroll 01. So that's what we're going to put in there under project name. When you create your project names, you really shouldn't have any blank spaces in them. All right? And we're going to get used to using a capital letter for the first and everything else in lowercase, so Payroll 01, just like that. All right? Now, you don't even have to click Next. If you already did, it doesn't hurt anything. But it's kind of stupid that they even put that thing in there. You can just click Finish. You should never have to change anything else in here other than your project name. If for some reason you wanted to save this to someplace else, you should never wanted to have to do that. But let's just say you're creating something real little and you want to save it right to your H drive for whatever reason. Then you click here where it says use default location, then you can change it. We should never have to do that. All right? So we created a new project. We're calling it Payroll 01, and we're clicking the Finish button. Now you can see it started to create this for you. Under your Package Explorer, you should now have that folder in there that says Payroll 01, and if I open that so you can see it, it says SRC, and it's got this that looks like, what the hell is that? All right, there's a boatload of files in there that end with .jar. Those are referred to as Java archive files. Remember earlier when I went out to java.sun.com and I showed you that API? That's a bunch of that stuff that's right there. All right? They get included automatically in every project that you create. So I'm just going to close that. I don't need it anymore. Everything that we do, we're going to do in this other folder here that's called source. Everything. All right? So we have to do two things before we can start putting in code. So what have we done so far? First, we changed or reset our workspace. And again, as I said, that's a one and done thing. Then we created a project. That you're going to have to do for every single project that we do. The next two steps that we have to do is first, we have to come in and we have to create what's called a package. Then we're going to create a class. Then we're going to code. That's it. So you will have to do these steps, create a project, create a package, create a class for every project that we do. But this first thing, the change and reset the workspace, we've already done it. All right? So the easiest way to do this is to take your mouse, put it anywhere, either on the word source or on the folder here, right mouse click, and choose New again, and go down to about the fourth one where it says Package. And if that's highlighted, just go ahead and click on it. All right, it already shows you the folder that you're using, and that's good. You shouldn't have to change that. All right, the kind of the protocol for doing this is you use a reverse domain notation. All right, so let's say that Jelani's, he's J. Warner something or other. I know there's a number there. I don't care. It's okay. At students.blackhawk.edu. What I'm telling you, you can call this whatever you want. Okay? But what's the industry standard is you do this in reverse notation. So in other words, for Jelani, he'd say edu.blackhawk.students.jwarner followed by that number. You understand what I'm saying? That's the way that the industry standard says that you're supposed to do it. And what's nice about doing it that way, that's also the same way that you're supposed to do it for Android. All right, so a year from now or whenever, when we start talking Android, you'll already be prepared for it. I don't have a students in mind, so I just put in edu.blackhawk.jscott. If, let's just say that Isaiah says, you know, I don't even want to call it anything. I just want to call it Isaiah. It won't hurt anything. You can really call it whatever you want. I'm just trying to have you call it what they say in industry you're supposed to be calling it. That's all. All right? So click Finish. And now you notice it's got this little box here, and it's got that thing. So it's created the package. And a package is kind of like another folder. All right? So we're going to right mouse click on this, and we're again going to choose New, and then right under Package, we're going to choose Class. And it's got our source set for us, it's got our package set for us, and we're going to call this Payroll. Now, you can type that in, but don't hit Enter yet. If you want to, you can, but I'm going to set it up so there's a little less work that you have to do. All right? If I click Finish right now, it's going to create basically a blank file for me, except at the top it's going to have package followed by this package name. But if I take my mouse and I check here where it says public static void, it'll write the main method for me. So it's up to you. You can write it yourself, which is a little bit more work, or you can just check right there and leave all the other stuff exactly the way it is, and then click Finish. And if yours looks like this, that's exactly the way that it should look. Yes, sir.
My finish is great.
Do you have a blank space in it? You can't have it. Try getting rid of the number. I don't know if it went. No, but I think it was a number, but it shouldn't.
Yeah, mine did.
Says the name is that. What did you tell me? already gray. John, have you seen that before? His is just gray. You know, we just tried to put it EU for a package name. And it just was gray and it stayed gray. He's got the right. Oh, yeah, this looks correct. Yeah. And that's what he put in. Oh, yeah, try typing in just Blackhawk right now. Start typing in just Blackhawk. Yeah. Go ahead, just for heck of it, check. Yeah, you don't want to put that in there. Just go ahead. I did send the messages for you. Everything else was fine that you got it. You did everything correctly. Exactly the way he created it there. He doesn't have any blank spaces. Yeah, why don't you, right mouse click on here and do delete. That's probably the best way to do it. There you go. And then try it again. And this time, just put edu.blackhawk or something like that. That's okay, just don't finish. Create it again. So right mouse click on it again. Then choose navigate to the left. Start to take the over and just ungraze. Yeah, now it's okay. Not sure exactly what would make that happen. All right. Okay, the first thing you might notice if you take a look up here is my text is really small. All right, so I believe it's Window, Preferences, General. I don't know where in here though. Appearance, Colors, and Fonts. If I did that too fast, if yours is this way and that's too small, it's Window, Preferences. Right at the top is Appearance under General, and there's a Color and Fonts right there. All right. And do I have to choose Java? Yep, Java. Someplace in here it's got the size. I don't remember where it is. Java Editor Text Font, right there. You can see mine is set to 10. All right, well, I want to edit that. I don't like that size, so I'll make it 16. You should be familiar with doing this from other packages, hopefully. Click OK, and OK. That's probably a little bit easier to see then. All right. Now, a couple things, just so you know this. This was already created for us automatically. It always puts that package statement in there. Don't worry about a package now. We'll talk about it a little bit in the next chapter, and we'll talk about it a lot more in later chapters. All right? There's our class. What I like to do, you may or may not care. You don't have to do this. But what I like to do is I like the curly here to be on its own line and the curly here. If you want to keep them where they were, it doesn't hurt anything. All right, I also don't need that blank line there or there. All right, so that's how mine looks. And you can see this right here, what happens, and this is not just something that Eclipse does, a lot of different editors do this, is they auto-generate some stuff in here, and they put this to-do thing in here. All right, which just means that right now this class isn't doing anything. All right, well, and that's fine, but I don't need that line, so I'm just going to highlight it, hit delete, and it's gone. All right, now we're going to type in a total of about 10 or 15 lines. All right, and you feel free. I'm going to put my first name and my last name. You can put whatever the heck you want to put in there. You're not turning this one in. All right, but I want to be able to put this all in and then go back and decompose it or look at it line by line. So I'm just going to type for about 5 minutes. All right. I'm also going to come in over here and I'm going to put a comment for each one of these, which starts in Java with a // 2 forward slashes. That's everything right there. So I'll give you a few minutes to key that in. When you're all done, it's a good idea to either do a file, save all, or to click the disk icon that's over here for saving it all. But I'll just do here a file, save all. Give you about 2 or 3 more minutes.
What's wrong if those alts aren't blue?
If they're not blue, could be different things. Sees an error up above. Put a semicolon at the end of line 8 there. See if that fixes it. And you've got one too many curly braces. The one that that line right there, you can remove any of them, but you have to remove one of them. Now they're looking.
Thank you.
All right, so even if you're still finishing up, let's just take a couple seconds and go back and look at the program, all right? Again, the package statement, that's all gonna have to do as we get going in here with the type of how you can reference different variables and different things that are in your project, all right? That basically says that anything that's defined inside of this package that we created, anything that's defined in there, you'll be able to access things. You know, again, it's with global and local variables. These variables right here, these 5, they're local. In other words, they're only known inside of main because they're defined inside of main. All right? If I had a bunch of other methods in here other than main, let's just say I had 10 methods, none of those methods would know about these variables unless I passed those in. Or unless rather than declaring them here, I declared them up here outside of any method. All right, just like in most programming languages in Java, if you declare variables outside of any method, they become global to the program. All right, so we've got in lines 7 through 11, we've got 5 different variables. All right, Java has what are called 8 primitive data types. You're going to see this in the next chapter. But just so you can see it, or see them, there's char and there's Boolean. Those are the non-numeric type of data types. All right. Then there's byte, short, int, and long. Those are all whole numbers. And then there's float, and there's double. All right, and the reason I'm showing you that is if you noticed, I use double here, which is like a float on steroids. And you may say, well, why don't you just use a float? All right, the way this language works, if I use a float here, watch what happens. If I type in here float, whoops, you have to spell it right, of course. If I type in float and I move, it gives me an error. Because when you say that variables are of type float and you go in and you want to give them a value, you have to put either an uppercase F or a lowercase f at the end of them. Most people don't like to do that. So they just make everything doubles. All right, which alleviates the problem. All right, I don't care that you're making them doubles. What's the difference? Internally in the memory of the computer, it's taking up probably twice the space it would take otherwise. All right. That was important when you had computers that were gigantic but had very small memory. Now we got computers that are very small and have gigantic memories. So it really isn't that big of a thing. All right. Notice that a bunch of words in here are in whatever you call that, purple, pink, not pink, but maroon, whatever. Those are keywords. So if you notice, double is a keyword, string is not. String, that's the type of a class. In fact, notice what happens when I take my mouse and put it on the word string. All right, it brings up the help that's built into Eclipse. All right. So what I'm saying is I've got two variables that are going to be strings. Unlike JavaScript, strings must be in double quotes. You can't use single quotes with strings. Single quotes are for that char type. So if I come through here and I change these double quotes to single quotes, you notice I get an error. And it comes in, if I put my mouse over it, says invalid character constant. Because it thinks that's a single character, and I'm trying to shove 4 characters into where it's a single character. Also notice if I leave off the semicolon, and some of you might have done this, I get a red thing over here. See that over way on the side? Like it or not like it, when you start to key in a bunch of stuff, what you really should do when you start to code is key in a little bit, test it, key in a little bit more and test it. But what most people do is they key it all in. Then they start testing it. And you look over here and you got a bunch of red stuff. Those are all things that are an error. So if you take your mouse and you just double click, it shows you. And if I go over here, it shows me, it says syntax error. And if I really want to be, it says insert semicolon. All right. There are going to be errors that we get in here that Eclipse will fix for you if you tell it to. All right. So we've got our package, the name of our class, and notice payroll with a capital P must be saved. File, payroll with a capital P. All right, here's our main. So everything is inside of the main method. Everything we're doing right now is in here. All right, so we're declaring 5 variables, 2 strings, and 3 doubles. And we're initializing them. The declaration is everything before the equal sign. The initialization is what is the equal sign and what comes after it. All right. Then we're actually calculating the gross pay. All right. Pretty simple calculation. Later we'll go on. We get into chapter 3. We get into the if statement. Then we'll say what if the person's worked overtime. But for now we don't care about that. All right. Then we're just printing everything out. These should all print on their own line. So notice it should print the string, first name, and then the plus is used here. It's not addition right there, that's concatenation. So the plus is what's known as an overloaded operator in this language. So it should say first name, colon, space, Jeff, last name, colon, space, Scott, hours worked, colon, space, 40.0, hourly rate, colon, space, 10.0, and ideally, gross pay, colon, $, 400.0. Don't worry if it's just got one decimal place versus 2. We'll get to all that stuff. Then at the end it says end of program run. And you notice here I've got backslash ends there. That means new line. It's like you hit the enter key. So if you haven't saved, please do a file and do a save all. All right. Once you have saved, to run these, there's 2 ways you can run them. You can do a run, or you can just click the big green arrow right there that says run on it. If you click right there, you say, well, it didn't work. Your console here might not be showing, but that's what you should get. If you put your own name in or you put in different amounts, that's what should show there. And if you did it, congratulations. You just created, all right, you compiled, and you interpreted and ran your first Java program. All right, as you guess, they're going to get harder. Anybody see a problem with this program the way it's written right now? There's nothing wrong syntactically in it, but you see something that's sort of, for lack of better words, every time I run it, it's going to say the same thing, right? Isn't that kind of bad? So what we get to in chapter 2 is how we can do input. Okay? So what's going to happen in chapter 2 is the first program that we write, for first name, you're going to have to take your mouse, click in there, and type in your name, your last name, etc. You're going to have to actually put that stuff in. Then it'll figure it out, and it'll, you'll see it when we get going. But then we'll learn how to do it, and this is about as GUI. So, I don't know if Denny showed you anything today, but everything you're going to do in C# is GUI. All right, every program you do. In here, almost nothing you do is GUI. Some people like this class better because you have to concentrate on the language, and you're not so worried about all the pretty stuff. And because it never ceases to amaze me when there's an assignment due, and I said, "Did you do the assignment?" "Well, I got my interface done, and it looks just beautiful." "What about the code?" "Well, I haven't put any code in yet." Then who gives a damn? All right. I've said this many times. You give me a butt ugly interface that works versus a beautiful interface that doesn't do anything. All right, so in this language, or in this class, this semester, everything we do after we get done with chapter 2 stuff, it's not going to get any more GUI than that. Next semester, I'll show you how to build things, all right, in Eclipse, and it's not that different from the way that you'll do them in Visual Studio. It's not the same, but it's very similar. All right. Now, just so you know, too, what we're going to end up doing, and since it's 11:38, and I'm still going to get you out of here in just a couple minutes, I'm going to advise that you do what I'm about to tell you right now. All right. First of all, if yours did not work and you have no idea why, all right, raise your hand and I'll help you, or John will help you. That's what we're here for. All right. John, can you go big? But even if yours didn't work, if you look up on the screen here, just so you know now the next 2 programs that we do, we're going to be able to use almost all of this. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're going to add to it, but we're going to be able to use just about everything that's there. Does that make sense? All right. So what I'm going to do, just to prepare myself for the next class, is I'm going to highlight not the package line, although I could, but I'm going to highlight everything else that's in here. All right, other than my package line and that blank line, I'm going to highlight all of it, and I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. So with it all highlighted, I'm going to do a Control-C. All right? Then I'm going to close this, because I don't need this one anymore. And I'm going to close everything, so that's all I have. All right? Then I'm going to come in, and I'm going to, you've already seen, so we're going to do steps 2, 3, 4, and 5 that are on the board. I'm going to do a File, New, Java Project, exactly like we did before. This one I'm going to call Payroll 02A, because we're going to have an A and a B. You can call it 2-1, 2-2, whatever you want. Again, don't put any blank spaces in there. All right, so I'm going to call that Payroll 02A, and I'm going to click the Finish button. All right, now with that created, I'm going to come in just like we did. I'm going to right mouse click, choose New, and go over to Package. Exact same way we just did this. And again, edu.blackhawk. And Stephen, I hope yours works okay now. If it doesn't, let us know, okay? edu.blackhawk.jscott. All right, same way I did it before. Click Finish. I'm going to again right mouse click, do a New, and do a class. And I'm going to call it Payroll again. Exactly like we did it before. But this is Payroll 02A. All right, and it doesn't matter now. We're going to copy everything in there. You don't even have to check where it says public static void main. You can leave it unchecked. All right, I'm going to click Finish and see what it gives me. I don't want that. I want to paste that in. So now this looks exactly like the first one I just did. But the good news is I've already written half of it. So I don't have to go back and rewrite that again. So I'm going to do a File, Save All. And I'm going to close this one. And here's a surprise. I'm going to do the exact same thing one more time. So I'm going to do a File, New, Java Project, and this one will be called Payroll 02B. All right, click Finish. Right mouse click on here, do a New, Package, You know that you're hopefully you're already understanding the drill. And again, right mouse click, new class, and again I'm going to call it, not package, I already have that. New class, and I'm again going to call it payroll. I don't need the main. I'm again going to remove this and copy that in. So I now have 3 copies of my original program. All right? And you might say, well, why'd you do that? Because the other changes that we're going to make are going to be fairly superficial. But we've already got this written, so I don't have to concentrate now and tell you to declare those variables and do your line here and do your line here. We can concentrate in the next class just on how to do those inputs and outputs. All right? Questions on that? I know I went through it fast. Okay? These will both be out there by 1 o'clock. All right, if you want to go out to the YouTube channel and take a look at them. And if you did have a problem, raise your hand, because I want to let you go early. It's not much early, but a little bit early. So if you had problems, raise your hand and I'll help you or John will help you. If there's more than 1 or 2 people with their hands up, please be patient. We'll get to you. All right. When you're done, just do a file, exit. That's it. And I since everybody knew how to get into your virtual desktop, I take it you know how to get out of it. Yes.
Okay, I've got these done, but I was just working with John trying to figure out how to get this thing model, so I didn't do the class.
What's in here right now? Okay, so you're just about there. That's fine. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and grab all that stuff. So do however you do it. You can just highlight all of it. Right, do a Control C. All right, now go ahead and close that one. All right, now go to the right mouse click where it says 02B, right there, right mouse. I'm sorry, the word source. Right mouse click there. Package. Oh, sure. All right, and type in there EDU, whatever you put in before.
I know.
Shh.
Okay.
Finish. Now right mouse click on what you just did. Go to new again, without the class. Type payroll into where the cursor is, right where the cursor is right now. With a capital P.
Hopefully I can remember myself.
Finish.
Put a lot of time.
Now highlight everything from line 3 on down.
But you got snap or something?
Okay, now do a control V. Now do the same thing for the next one. Save that. Yes. Same thing for the next one. Okay, right mouse click, new, package. Package, and then right click, mouse click, new, class, and then, okay? Are you here now during lunch?
Yeah, I don't know whether there's much point today.
No, but I mean, you are gonna be in here?
Yeah.
Okay. So I gotta go up and see her. I don't know if my wife's coming or not, but I got, Carissa wanted me to, that's why she was here.
Oh,
And I told her I'd be up at 11:30, so I didn't.
You get like a lot of extra stuff done. It's not hard for me to see that, you know, I'm not a self-motivated person, so I'm working on it. I need to do more extra.
Extra stuff.
Yeah, in fact, I should stay.
Johnny, you know, I think he stopped taking.
Wait till you